Welcome to Dairyland Frights, the paranormal podcast that covers everything spooky, creepy, and mysterious in the Midwest and beyond. And today, I am so excited because I have been watching her stuff and looking at her content, and it's so awesome. She is a medium. She's a mom. She does hair, believe it or not. And she does tarot readings, among many other things in the paranormal. I'm super excited to have her on the show. Joy, welcome.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I mean, I'm like, look, you got to give her some love here because go check. I'll have all the links in this episode, but give her some love. She has some great topics. She has so much fun with them, as well as they're creepy too. So, you know, that's always a good thing, right? So let me get in, before we get into a little bit of finding out about Joy, my audience, a little bit about you. Like, you know, I mentioned a bunch of things you do, but why don't you talk to my audience and, hey, what's going on with Joy?
Yeah. So I am a mom. I have 2 kids. I have dogs. I do hair. And recently I started being more open about all the other things I've been doing behind the scenes for like over 10 years, which is I've actually helped perform an exorcism. I've cleansed houses. I've done like literal like closing portals where demons have opened. There's like so many crazy things I've done, as well as just helping people connect with their loved ones or just being in a haunted area and experiencing stuff because I've seen things literally all my life. Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot, Joy. And I'm impressed because I don't do any of those things. And that sounds awesome. But that's why you're on the show. Let me back up here. Tell me about when you were growing up, when you were a little Joy and you were growing up. Was it something you had at a young age that you could, the ability to sense things, you were sensitive? When did it happen for you?
It's all of my life. I don't remember a time not seeing stuff. I even have a memory of like being in the crib and seeing like people around me, but I didn't know them and they were all like, they were shadows. And I remember like I was even around my stuffed animals, like I was that little. And I grew up with several like spirits in my home. One ended up actually being a family friend, which we identified a lot later when my parents finally believed me because nobody believed me for a long time. So I just had to like deal with this. But like, I don't know if you've ever seen Poltergeist 2, but the like really creepy old man. I had one in my house like ever since I can remember. And he was scary. He scared me all the time. He never came into the room I was in, but he was always like just outside of it. Or like if I was downstairs, he was upstairs, like where I could see him. That was forever until I was about, I think, 17. We finally got rid of that. And there was also like this creepy lady that would chase me when I was like taking the trash out, like on the side of my house. She was like crawling and chased me, and like things in my garage. There was a lot going on that I just dealt with because nobody believed me for a really long time. So I stopped bringing it up.
Wow. So let's back up on that.
Yeah.
The creepy guy, did he say anything? Did he, I mean, do anything, touch you, anything like that?
So he always just had this like really wicked smile to him. He had like a mustache. Sometimes he was wearing a top hat, and he just would stare. Everything would stare. Nothing ever talked to me until I was older. I ended up, when I was like 16, I told my mom what was going on because nobody believed me. And they were like, hey, dude, you're like 16. Why can't you be upstairs alone when everybody's downstairs? Like, you always have to be with everybody. And I was like, I don't think you're going to believe me. And when I described him again to my mom at an older age, she was like, if I show you a picture of somebody, would you know who it is? And I said, I don't know. So she showed me a picture. It was a group photo. And sure enough, I pointed out the guy, and it was somebody who had passed that wasn't always a very nice person. He kind of got off on like scaring little girls, sure enough. So he was still doing that, and I never knew him. He had passed away long before I was born.
Yeah.
So
that must have been really difficult growing up like that, having that happen to you. How did you like have I wouldn't say normal, but close to a normal day? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I've spoken to people of haunted houses. They always tell me the same thing. Like you get used to it. What is getting used to it mean for Joy? You know what I'm saying?
I guess the thing is like when you think normal, you have something to compare it. Like, so when you're
Correct.
somewhere
Yeah.
odd, you're like, this is different. But that was my normal. So I never really knew anything else, and it just was my life. It just was.
See, now, did you ever have like a sleepover or something, invite a friend over, a cousin or somebody, and then just be like, okay, like, look, there's this guy. You might see him. I don't think you will, but you might. Did you ever bring that up?
No, because like since nobody really believed me, I just like didn't tell anybody because I didn't want anybody to think I was like crazy.
Okay.
So I didn't really say much until I was like older, around that time when I was 16. But later on, when I had told friends or they found out what had kind of happened, some of them actually came forward and said that they felt like there was something off about the house. Like they felt like there was somebody else there. It felt like somebody was watching at times, which was kind of like a little validating
Yeah,
for me.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because I was just kind of wondering, if people came into your house, because I've been told, and tell me if this is true, by other mediums I've spoken with and interviewed, that we all have the ability to see and to hear and to be sensitive in a way. We just gotta kind of bring it out, and it might be in different ways we do it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's true with spirits, like, especially young women tend to have that feeling more, as well as children, of feeling the spirits, seeing the spirits. So yeah, I was just curious if people came to your house and been like, hey Joey, I don't feel like staying over tonight, and you're like, hey, what's wrong, you don't feel good? And you're like, no, it's just something creepy in the house, right? You're like, oh, I
I
get it.
wonder.
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
No, definitely. And that is true with like what they say is I feel like it's not even that everybody can see, it's that everybody
Yeah.
has their own way. I almost feel like we're given gifts in a way that we can handle. Like not everybody could handle seeing, not everybody could handle hearing. And kind of funny enough, it's like when I started talking to my mom about it, I found out that she could hear things and I could see things. And the more we started to hang out and like we went to Jerome was the first place we stayed. And I actually heard a ghost talk to me. Like it just, and I'd never experienced that before. And so it's kind of interesting how, like, when you hang out with people who also have kind of stepped into their abilities, like sometimes you start to feel theirs too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that's really interesting too, because you have that almost magnetic quality or frequency. I've been told, like, people have different frequencies, and it might have a frequency with a spirit, right? Because they were humans like us, like me and you at one time, right?
Yeah.
And some maybe were kind of jerks, and some were really nice, right? And
Exactly.
then we kind of forget that, right? We forget, that they were human ones. We just kind of have that other mentality of like, oh, well, this isn't great. Now let's get to the lady who's chasing you when you take out the trash. Now that's a great excuse, by the way, Joy, for you to go, Mom, Dad, I can't take out the trash. And they're like, why? What? Get your butt out there and take out the trash. Like, no, I'm serious. There's this spirit chasing me. Like,
Yep. No, they still
chasing,
made
like,
me.
were you running with the trash and then been like, whoa?
Literally.
And then, oh, okay. All right.
So I would actually run. I would run. There was no lights on the side of the house either. I was like, I just hate this. So I would literally book it to there, or I would take a dog with me. That's what they told me. They're like, oh, just take a dog with you if you're scared. I was like, okay. My dog's name was Rocky. I was like, come with me, please. I was like, I got treats, please. Because the dog's consented, so I just feel safer if there's a dog there. And so, we'd go, and then he and I would run back.
So was the lady chasing you, was she chasing on you like on all fours, or was she chasing you like running, chasing you?
It was almost like on all fours. It almost felt like she was so low. It's going to sound so gross, but almost like a lizard. Like it was like this, where she was so close to the ground, I couldn't even see her face. But yeah, she was
that's
terrible.
creepy.
I never found out her story because when all that was happening and I started like telling my mom, I actually had a friend whose mom was a medium, and she just like took me under her wing and like showed me how to get rid of everything. So she got rid of everything in the house. So luckily, it's on and off good, because my family, well, my dad lives there now. So
yeah, creepy. And I doubt it, but has your dad ever said like, there's something weird in this house, and you're like, well, I know what it is?
No, funny enough, my dad was not really into it. Even having been married to my mom for so long, like he didn't really believe until like my mom and I had done some crazy stuff. And then he was like, I guess I can't really turn it down anymore. And even then, he was still kind of like hesitant until like it was maybe a year and a half ago. I ended up having a crazy experience and was invited to be on ghost adventures. And then he's like, I mean, if they're paying for you to come out there, like there's got to be something behind.
Yeah, let's hear about it. That's awesome.
That is a whole wild story. If you really want to hear about it,
Yes,
got you.
do. I do. And my spooky friends want to hear it too.
So, having seen things forever, one of my best friends, she was like, hey, I really want you to go to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum because I end up watching some ghost shows with my mom. No offense to Zach. I don't know if he'd ever listen, but like, I did never watch Ghost Adventures because he always seemed to just be yelling at the ghost. And I was like, that's not my thing. I don't know. It's better now, but like back in the day, I was like, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
So my friend ended up making a drinking game. Speaking of having drinks together, we would have margaritas. I have a tattoo on my arm. It's a ghost drinking a margarita with a little EMF detector.
I love
because we had a drinking game that was like every time they said dude or every time it was a class A EVP, we had to like take literally.
Bro, look out, bro. Yeah.
Drink to it. And one day she was like, hey, Zach Bacon's the host of the show. He has this like haunted museum in Vegas, and I really want you to go to see what you would see there. And I was like, that sounds terrible. I was like, that honestly doesn't really sound like a fun time for me. Well, years later, we ended up going. And so this was October of like 2024. We ended up going for her birthday. We get there. I was having experiences, like things were coming to me before we even got there, like even including on the car ride there. So there are so many spirits there. It is insane. But there was one thing in particular that we were coming out of this like puppet room, and down a hallway, I saw this like really tall, like misty figure. And he was actually just standing there at first. And so I was like, maybe if I don't see him, he doesn't see me. So I was just like, I'll just keep going. So we go into a room that's like kind of dedicated to Dr. Kevorkian, the one who did the assisted suicide. We go in there and we're standing about halfway into the room and they're playing a video and this thing actually follows us into it. So it's standing like right behind me. I'm trying to get as close to the wall as I can, but I still just feel it standing right here. They're playing this video about a girl who was like affected in the room. And it turns out she's literally standing in the exact same spot I am. And her friend in the video is standing exactly where my friend is. And when they play this video, they're like, oh, something scared her and we never knew what it was pretty much. And when that happened, this thing looked down at me and smiled and then dropped to the floor, like crouched to the floor and pretty much was like, let me know, like I did that. I was like, I'm not okay right now. So I just tried to like ignore it. And it was like almost floating, like stuck to me, just behind me everywhere we went. We went to the van room and then we went into the jail room, they call it. And we went about halfway down. There was some ashes of a really big serial killer named Samuel Little at the very end that had just been added. And we walked down there, and then when I come back, it was just gone. So I didn't see it again, but before we left the museum, I kept getting told by the spirits there, you need to let somebody know about this spirit because it's going to hurt somebody. And I was like, okay, well, like, who do I tell? So I start trying to ask, like, the workers, and I'm like, hey, who can I tell about this experience I had? And they're like, we don't do that. I was like, I don't know how you are in a haunted museum and don't do that, but okay. Yeah. And then I was like, well, like, can I be cleansed? And they're like, we don't do that. And I was like, excuse me? What? So I start getting a little worked up and I was like, okay, maybe I'll ask the security guy. So we walk out and there's like a table or whatever, and there's a security guy. And I was like, hey, who can I tell about this experience I had? And he said, I don't really think we do that. I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay, well, like, is there someone here who can cleanse me because there's something wrong? He's like, yeah, I don't really know if we do that. Sky and I are friends now, so it's cool. But I was like, oh my God. So I start getting like panicking because I'm just keeps getting told, like, you have to tell somebody, you have to tell somebody. And I start like crying. I start like actually like having like some kind of a panic attack. They get me a chair. I'm like hysterical and I don't normally get that way. And so my friends were like, hey, do you want to leave? And just as they said that, the spirits of the museum said, you cannot leave. You have to tell somebody. If you leave, it's going to hurt somebody. It's going to be your fault. More hysterics because nobody will listen to me. And then sure enough, all of a sudden, Zach Bagans comes out with his best friend. He wasn't even supposed to be there that day. Like, it wasn't like, he's not there all the time, but like, he just happened to be there on a whim. It's almost like a weird like thing of fate, which I'm sure you've heard or experienced on the show. So he goes, hey, what's going on? I was like, there's something in there. It's going to hurt somebody. It's like really going to hurt somebody. He goes, would you be willing to go back in? At this point, all the lights are off. They're setting up for flashlight tours. Like it's pitch black in there. And honestly, I didn't want to go back in. I was like not starstruck. I wasn't like, oh my God, yeah, let's go. I was like, I don't want to ever go there again. Like, no. But my best friend, like, she's obsessed with the show and with Zach. And I knew this was like a once in a lifetime experience that like only I could give her in this moment. So
Sure.
I was like, okay, sure, I guess. And so we go in and we walk by this Houdini table and immediately we start getting just interactions. Like somebody starts knocking on the table and he even stops. He's like, what was that? And he's like, okay, let's go. But it's pitch black. It's a labyrinth. It's been like an hour and a half since I even saw, the thing. So I don't know where anything is. It was my first time in there and we're coming through the exit. So I don't even know where we're coming from. I don't know where we are. So I see this thing at an end of a hall and it's like almost glowing. And I'm like, it's down there. And it still got this smile. The smile never left after it smiled that one moment. And then it almost like teleported into this door frame. And so I'm like, it's in there. So we start walking up to the door frame and it's so dark in this museum at night that standing in front of a door frame, you can't see what's in the room. Like it's that dark. So we walk into the room and sure enough, it's the van. It's the Kevorkian van room, which is right next to the office, which it first started interacting with me in. So we go in there and he has like an Ovilus Vibe, which is like a device that ghosts can kind of like almost type into, like use select words that pop up on the screen. So he sets up the Ovilus and I'm just telling him, I'm like, this thing is going to hurt somebody. It's really going to hurt somebody. And the Ovilus, the minute he turns it on, says violent assault. And he's like, I don't even normally get things in here. He was like shocked and he started like getting excited. I was like, I'm not having a good time. I'm glad everybody else is having a blast, but I am not.
Yeah.
So it just kept going on for about 45 minutes. Just every single thing I said, we got activity of. Like at one point, it was, like things were touching my legs and it said touch legs. Yeah. And he had us go into the office to show us where it was when it like crouched to the floor and everything. And he left the Ovilus in the other room and the Ovilus wasn't like making noise. It's not like we can hear it.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of telling him what happened. And he goes and he's like, I'm going to go check on the Ovilus. And he comes back in. He's like, hey, Joy, can you tell me a number? And I was like, why would I know a number? And just as I'm thinking that, this thing is like right here. And it like says in the grossest voice that I can't even begin to try, but it was like 1111. And it was like raspy and way worse than that. And so I tell him, I'm like, it said 11, like 11. And he goes, how did you know that? And I said, what? And he goes, how did she know that? How did she know that? And he brought his friend into the other room. They come back and he's like, Joy, come here. You have to see this. And we go in, the Ovilus had said 11.
Oh.
And he's freaking out, being scared. And so I just sit down in the chair. I'm so overwhelmed because like that spirit was not the only one interacting with us in that moment. And this thing was like disgusting, like breathing on me. Like it would go from behind me to the doorway connecting this room and the office room, and then over by this book, and then into the van. And it would just move, just like snap. Like it would just be there, and all of a sudden would be somewhere else. And it was constantly looking at me, smiling. So he even had an EMF in the van, but it wasn't really going off when it was in there. So that was kind of interesting. But I brought that up for a reason. So just bear with me. So at one point, he's kind of standing by the van, and I see it all of a sudden in the passenger seat. And that was the first time it was in the passenger seat. And it starts leaning through the window towards him. And I was like, Zach, you need to get away from the van right now. Luckily, he listened to me. He moved away. And just as he moved away, the EMF meter in the van started going off. And again, I was so overwhelmed. So I was just sitting in the chair crying. And I had my hands, my head in my hands. And all of a sudden I feel like hot breath on my face. And it's like this far away. I look up and that thing is standing on the ceiling, upside down, breathing into my face.
Oh my God.
And that was the scariest thing I've ever experienced. So it was just a wild time. So for 45 minutes, this was going on like nonstop. Evidence got like worse. Anyways, so we end up like leaving. And he's like, that's like one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me. And like, it was crazy. And then about like a week later, I get a message from him. I was like, okay. And he was like, hey, would you be willing to come for the show? And I was like, sure, I can't believe this is happening. And they flew me out the next day and we did a whole thing. And it was crazy. Like, again, the minute they turned on their equipment, we weren't even filming. The film crew wasn't even with us yet. They just turned it on before we went inside. And they have that in the episode. Whereas he goes, all right, go ahead and follow me in. And they turn on the equipment. And Billy had to record with his phone because it happened so fast. And it said, like, follow me into death. And
Wow.
there were things inside. And I was like, they're just waiting for us. Like, they're excited. Like, they're excited that we're coming. And yeah, everything was going off. Things were like nonstop almost the entire time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Joy, you win the scariest story so far this year. Okay? You should be honored. Thanks for the nightmares. You can keep them, Joy. You know?
You know, you're
Wow,
welcome.
yeah. You're welcome, John, for nightmares.
We did add to the game that we all have to take a shot if I'm on the episode.
If your Instagram goes off at like 3:00 this morning, it'd be like, oh, John, I'm so sorry. My God, that would be me. That's me. I'm not sleeping, Joy. I'm not sleeping. That's okay. It's okay.
You know? Yeah.
That is awesome. No, well, obviously I have to watch the episode, but
yeah,
did you guys come to a conclusion? I'm guessing it was a dark soul from somewhere. I don't know what.
So it's kind of interesting because in the episode they had a feeling that it might have been Samuel Little due to the ashes being there. But I have seen Samuel Little's spirit there, and we did communicate with it. But what I saw was different. And when we went back in, the thing I saw was in hiding. It didn't even come out, or like I went again and it wasn't out. It was mad at me, and it was because it had been feeding off of fear and it didn't want to be stopped. So it kind of like went into like hibernation almost until things calmed down. But I did see Samuel Little. He's horrible. He hangs out in the basement. And I do want to throw it out there for anybody who's watched the video and for when you watch it. I went in that gosh darn basement. I cannot. I went in that basement and it got cut out.
Crazy. What are you doing, Joy?
But I was so scared. And there were things like coming out of the walls and it got cut out. But at one point I got touched and I was standing in front of this mirror that got weird. I don't want to be like he was possessed, but there was something wrong at one point, and I had to chase after him alone in the basement during that first experience. And he was standing in front of this mirror, and it wasn't him looking at the mirror. Yeah. And I was telling Billy that when we were recording, and I was standing by that mirror, and I felt like I got touched. And Billy on the XLS, which is almost like it's literally an Xbox Connect on a stick, it mapped out a figure behind me, and it got cut because the person who donated the ashes, she was famous. So they kind of focused a little bit more on her, and it had been edited before things happened with her that I don't want to just bring up. But she kind of got in trouble with the law. So I kind of wish that they had re-edited it and just put more of the stuff in there, because there's a lot of crazy stuff, but I have a feeling they might be doing more with it, because he did ask more people if they've experienced what I experienced in that working in a room. So yeah.
And just to put kind of, if some people don't know about serial killers and everything, Samuel Little was caught just, probably 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. And he's one of the most prolific serial killers in history. I think he killed 97 people over since 70s, 80s, 90s, something like that they say that he did and that he kind of admitted. It was up there. It was a big, big, big number. And I'm just wow, that guy was pure evil, like Bundy, and everything. You know what I would love to do if I had an unlimited check? So being in Wisconsin here, we have two of the biggest heavy hitters of serial killers. We have obviously Dahmer, and then we have Ed Gein, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so Ed Gein, again, he, influenced movies like Silence of the Lambs and Psycho, and they're about an hour away from me, Joy, is where his house was. So it's an empty field right now, because some guy in about the 60s and 70s was going to turn it into a museum. And it mysteriously burned down. And so now it's just an open field. And what I would love, and I've told this to other mediums too, I would love to get a collection of some of my favorite ladies to come with me and walk that field and see what they feel. Because I'm guessing it would freak you out. That's just my opinion. Because
I would be interested.
You gotta go somewhere, right? So one of these days I said, I'm going to drive out there, but I'm a big chicken. I'm not going to admit, if that thing happened to me, what happened to you, I would be crying in the backseat of my car and you'd be like, John, calm down. Everything's okay. But, things like that. And then also, what was a weird thing that I don't think I would get the possibility, or if I brought somebody with me, probably, but his gravestone, Ed Gein's gravestone, had to be moved from the Plainfield Cemetery because people were chipping off part of the gravestone and keeping it. And the funny thing was, well, I guess it's not funny to them, anyone who had that gravestone, just terrible things happened to them. So they had the little chip of the granite, right? And there's things on Reddit where, whether you believe, you don't believe, it's totally up to you. They said as soon as they put it in their house, they would see shadows. They would they would be angry all the time. They would fight all the time. And then they were like, I got to get rid of this thing. Because a lot of people said they would wake up and see shadows and everything, because of this, really, as as a cemetery, you do not take things out of a cemetery or a graveyard, whatever. Right. And so I guess that was a
story.
Yeah, let me hear it. I love it. Your sight. Did you steal something?
Really fast. It was crazy when you were talking about after chipping the granite. I saw one of my kids came in for a minute and then there was no one there. And then you froze. And then I thought I heard somebody on your end of the line. So I don't know if you're alone in there. But I swear I heard a little.
I am alone here.
That was weird. Maybe it'll come into the audio, but that was super weird.
Oh my God. Okay.
Two things really fast. They do have the Ed Gein cauldron in this museum. And when I went in, they actually even have some of the human skin from his furniture. And when I went in, I felt like somebody hit me on the top of the head and I actually felt blood come down my face and I had to wipe it. And I kept checking because I thought I was bleeding. It was really weird. And I saw shadow people up in the rafters.
God.
But about this cemetery. So I don't know what came over me. We were at the Metairie Cemetery in Louisiana, and it's one of the oldest cemeteries in the area. And I just right before the Uber got there to pick us up, I just felt like I need to take something with me. So I thought I would be safe. We're literally by the road. I'm not even by a grave. And I just take a stick. We joke around about my haunted stick. I take this stick off the ground. I'm like, all right. And I just put it in my fanny pack and we're driving away. And I was like, I'm going to regret that. I did. Yeah. Don't worry. It's all good. So, so I did regret it. I did not take it out of my little fanny pack. Yes, I wear a fanny pack when I'm traveling. I did not take it out of my little fanny pack for a while. And my friend who I went to the museum with, she's really into all this stuff, obviously. So I thought, okay, I'll bring that stick and we'll investigate it. So I come to her house. I have all of my paranormal equipment that I've slowly been collecting because I thought I would make YouTube videos, but having 2 toddlers, it's not happening. So I brought all my little stuff and I was like, okay, let's investigate this stick. And I'm waiting outside and then all of a sudden she texts me and she's like, oh, my boyfriend's coming. And I was like, that's a weird thing for me to bring when she's hanging out with her boyfriend. So I was like, I'll just leave it in the car. Just as I go to put it down, the fanny pack, I'll have a case of all my paranormal equipment and one of my spirit boxes go off. And it's a hard case. So I was like, that was weird. So I open it up and I'm like, I must have bumped it when I put it down, and I go to turn it off and it's not the one I thought it was. I have a mini spirit box in a pouch in a case that had died. It was out of batteries and it was brand new and its batteries were drained inside of the kitchen that was used by the enslaved people in a haunted plantation tour that I did. And so I just left it in there. I was like, oh, I'll change out the batteries. It was that one. And it was going off by itself. And so I was like, all right, you guys, I guess I'll investigate this stick. And sure enough, we did a whole investigation. We did record it. It's terrible lighting. It is on my little YouTube channel.
Right.
And we had some pretty crazy stuff happen. We had a cat ball going off right next to the stick. We had the spirits of like two people during the Civil War coming through talking to us. And it was really interesting because they're talking to each other through the spirit boxes and then talking to us. And we caught some pretty crazy stuff. And then just said, hey, you guys, like, you guys don't have to hang out with this thing. You guys don't even have to be here. And I helped. I feel like they did. I don't want to, say for certain. But I do feel like I helped them pass on. We had a big talk with them, and I have it all like recorded. We had a big talk with them, and then all of a sudden I didn't feel them anymore. And then something different tried to come through, so we had to like shut it down.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my fun cemetery stick, my haunted stick story.
Haunted stick. Well, it's very true. Again, taking things from cemetery, just don't do it. Okay, I know it's cool and everybody wants to do it, but don't do it. It's just
not even a stick, not a leaf.
Yeah, not even a stick.
A pebble, nothing.
Pebble, nothing. Just leave it. Just say no and move on. So let's talk a little bit about you being a medium. One of the biggest things I always say is, how do you, when you said you loved ones and everything like that, how do you deliver a message that's sensitive to that person? So let's say I come in there and I say, hey, Joy, my mom just passed away. I want to tell my mom I love her. And, you're trying to talk to my mom, and maybe she's mad at me about something, right? And maybe she didn't get it off her chest before she died. How do you, like when I mean, you know what I'm saying? How do you tell people, like, you want to tell them your mom's mad? You want to be like, okay, how do I deliver this sensitive information to them?
Yeah. So for me, I deal with a lot of people who have kind of gone into that light. What happens is they kind of see the whole lifetime, what you are going through and what you're going to experience next, what maybe you are struggling with, like they can kind of see all. And I feel like when they have gone into that light, they've really come to terms with things that have happened in their life. So every once in a while, I'll deal with people who are more like earthbound, who may still have a lot of that like anger and maybe regret, like resentment, things like that. But most of the time I deal with people who have already gotten over that and are there more to help you. So I don't really get a whole lot where it's like your mom's super angry at you. Sometimes I might, but I try to just like see what they're doing that's actually going to help you. Because when like spirits have gone into that light, they are more inclined to tell the truth. Like they have to. And when things haven't, there is nothing holding them accountable to the truth. So I don't really like to just go off of what they say, especially when it's somebody who's saying that they're your mom. They don't have to tell me the truth, so I don't always believe it. So sometimes it could be things that are pretending to be your mom just to possibly inflict pain.
Yeah.
But let's say she did go into light and she's like, hey, maybe you're still really struggling with something and you're holding on to something that you don't need to anymore. There's a lot more talks about forgiveness, or, hey, things happen. They did. I was upset, but like you're still here. And now it's time for you to move on and learn from those experiences and know that I'm okay now. That's most of the talks that I end up having because I know that that spirit is telling the truth. And
yeah, that's really interesting. Have you ever had where something's just overwhelming you? Like the spirit is they just want to I don't know, get stuff, like you're venting.
Yeah.
What we would call venting. Like nothing negative. They just want to like tell them this and tell them that. And you're like, whoa, slow down kind of attitude. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I've had a few different experiences. And at one point I even had somebody who had 3 people and they were all fighting between each other. And I think what they told me was it was like a grandma and like 2 aunts or something like that were like bickering about what was best, but they all had the best intentions in mind. So that was very interesting to translate. And I usually just say it how I see it. Like, I'm like, they're kind of like fighting amongst themselves. Like they all have their best intention in mind, but what they do agree on is this. And then I let it know. But I used to be more hesitant until the whole Ghost Adventure thing. I didn't really talk that much about it. It was like more the people that came into my life and like needed help, or my mentor, she would find people and I would do healing circles with her. I'd work with her and do like Reiki and different things like that. Or like friends of friends, like just helping people that I know, coworkers. But there was a time at my first salon that I was walking just around and nobody really knew anything about this. There was a girl standing by herself and I just kept getting this spirit saying, you need to tell her I'm here. You need to tell her I'm here. I am here. This is what I look like. This is what I'm doing. You have to tell her all these things. And I was like, it's hard. It's hard, especially at first, to be just coming up to somebody. And I always ask, like, how I was taught is you always ask if people are open to a message because it's kind of rude to just be like, I see your dead grandma. Like, maybe somebody's not in the space to hear that. Like, to me, that is so rude. Like, if I'm just walking and someone's like, is your mom's dead? And I was like, thanks for bringing it up. Like, you know, like, you don't do that. Like, you just, I think that that's rude. And you got to ask permission and you got to make sure that person is open to it. Because it's not about you just showing your ego of like, I can see somebody. It's about actually helping people. That's why you have the gift. That's how I view it. So I did go up and I was like, hey, I know this might kind of sound weird. I feel like I'm seeing somebody around you. I know it's probably going to sound so strange, but are you open to kind of talking about it? And she's like, yes, actually. She kind of seemed a little hesitant. I was like, okay. And I start describing this guy and I was like, there's this guy like right above you. He's kind of got this like pompadour. He like almost looks like a rock star, like a greaser rock star. Like he seems really, really cool. And he's just around you. He's not telling me much, but he needs you to know that he is there. And she just started crying and it was the anniversary of her grandpa's death. And they don't always look like how they do when they pass. They can make themselves look like in their prime. And that's how he wanted to appear to her, was in his prime, like looking like a rock star. And like, that's how he wanted to appear to her. And she knew exactly who it was from how I described it, because he looked like apparently someone who was the singer that she grew up listening to or something like that. And so like, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about like, oh, I saw this person. It was like, hey, she needed to know that he was there. He needed her to know that she was there. And it was like one of the most intense, like where spirit's like, you literally can't walk away. You need to go do this right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes it can be a lot and really putting me outside my comfort zone because it's hard coming up and being like, hey.
Right. How do you put boundaries on the spirit? It's like, you know, you don't want to be like in the shower or something and the spirit shows up and you're like, oh, really? You know, come on.
Another thing that would happen when I was a kid, it was great.
Oh my God. That doesn't sound great. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I found my mentor, she kind of taught me how to turn it off. She also taught me this trick that, you know, if anybody's listening and they feel like they might be in this situation, she just had me picture a pink bubble around me. That pink bubble can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a suit of armor. It can be like Bubble Boy from SpongeBob. It can be anything. It just be a circle, but something around you that is just pure love and light. And you need to know that it's there. You need to trust that it's there and know that when anything tries to come into that bubble, it's reflected off. And you need to have like kind of like faith in it, knowing that it's going to work and knowing that's going to be there. And that has been a huge help for me. Whenever I go somewhere that's more negative or even helping people, sometimes I have to put that bubble on to make sure that that is not attaching to me. And that's a big one that helped, as well as just trying to turn it off, especially when I had my kids. I didn't want anything to even think it come anywhere near me because I didn't want it to attach to my kids or try to bother them or try to scare them or try to just like, no, nobody needs to mess with them.
Yeah.
So I turned it off for a while. And so that, of course, the haunted museum was my first true experience after having kids. And I was like, wow, of course that had to happen.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
exactly. How do you stop from, maybe you're on a paranormal investigation, maybe you go somewhere. How do you stop like spirits from basically following you home, coming back with you?
So again, that bubble keeps attachments from attaching to you. Things can still try to follow you home. I always tell them to leave. Sometimes I'll even use like a little Palo Santo around me just for like some good housekeeping. But I always like somebody taught me that it's almost like you can pretend like you're cutting cords. And sometimes when I feel like even my thoughts are kind of creating a connection there, I just think, okay, nothing can follow me. I'm cutting any cords that may be like around me and everything needs to stay there. And whenever I get home, I always picture like pillars of light around my house. And I'm like, almost like imagine like a salt circle or something, like nothing can enter that. So when I walk through my premises, I know that I am cleansed and that nothing is with me. And a big thing is like knowing that like trusting in that. Because if you say that you're doing that and you're doing all these things, let's say you Sage or Palo Santo, but then you just keep thinking, well, something's going to come back. Something's going to come back. Oh my gosh, I know it's got to be back. And you start looking for it. You're inviting it back in. So even if you've done everything to get rid of it, by those thoughts and that negativity and that fear that you're feeding it, you're inviting it back in. So that's something that I had to learn the hard way. That does really, really help when you do go somewhere scary. Try to really have faith that it's going to stay there and set those boundaries, just like even out loud or in your head, like you can't come with me. And just leave it at that. Don't, with your thoughts, you can bring it with you. But if you just leave it there, you're good.
Yeah. So do you believe in demons or lost souls? Or do you think they're the same?
I do believe, but I really feel like they're very rare. And I feel like it's a demon. Of course, there's like elementals. Those are like more of like element spirits, like spirits that are more attached to land that were never human. But there are some that truly feed on negativity. And it's not just some like lost soul who's angry and mad and trying to scare you. I think that sometimes they get confused with the angry people. An angry person can come up and try to scratch you. An angry person can try to strike fear in you. They can manipulate themselves to look however they want. So they can manipulate themselves to look like a demon and just to scare you. But it is very rare to have actual demons. But when you do, it's very different. It's very much more, from my experience, because I've only really experienced it twice. They try to get in your head first and they want to isolate you. It's not so much of like, I just want to scare you because I'm angry and I want to inflict pain. It's like, I want you to be alone and I want to end you, kind of a thing. Like they want to destroy your life. And that is something that's like a little bit more scary. And I don't know if it's like necessarily like demons that are like described in movies or things like that, but it's definitely something that truly has your harm or your death in mind. And there's just like a little bit of a difference there. They're not there in your face trying to spook you. They're there trying to get inside you and like hurt you from the inside.
Yeah.
Sorry, more nightmare fear. I'm not, no more nightmare fear.
No, it's all good. No, we're all good here. This is why we do this. This is why I love this. Why do you think young women, especially teenage women, fight demons? And I don't mean purposely, but when you read about cases, the Warrens, just general other cases where it's a lot of young teenage girls who are inviting these demons or poltergeists or spirits. And do you have maybe a reasoning behind that other than it's a tough life being a teenage girl or a teenager in general? Yeah.
So, I guess my input on that is it's hard for me to judge if I wasn't there, whether it was truly a demon or not. But if I'm just going to kind of theorize of why that might happen, is I feel like teenage girls are a little bit more vulnerable. Unfortunately, it's just how our hormones are. I mean, I'm not a teenage girl anymore, but like I've been through it. I feel like sometimes they can be a little bit more vulnerable. And I feel like, again, theorizing is the environment around them could be negative. Environment around them could be kind of welcoming more negative things. And they see someone who's more vulnerable. And they kind of start to attach to that or feel like they can trick that. And I think that that may be why it seems like more like teenage girls may be affected by that.
Yeah. But see, here's the weird thing. You don't hear a lot with teenage boys. You know what I'm saying? You don't hear a lot with boys except, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with the Warrens. I think some of the things that, and you've recently done this. So let me ask you, because I'm having too much fun with you. We might not get to the topic, folks, but because we're having so much fun. We're having so much fun here, and I'm learning so much. One thing I wonder is this. Okay, so why is there, like, The Devil Made Me Do It is a famous case that they made into a movie and everything about a young boy who claims he was possessed. And then it was an actual court case. And then one of his relation, I can't remember if it was the cousin or the uncle, who it was again, who said, no, I'll take it, give that to me. And then wound up killing an innocent person, blaming basically the devil made him do it. And the Warrens supposedly proved that there was some connection between that. Do you believe that? Do you think that's possible?
So I feel, again, theorizing, outside looking in, I can't say because I wasn't in the case.
Right.
But I do feel like two things on that. I feel like little boys are affected. I just think that we focus more on the girls because girls are meant to be this like sweet, innocent, oh, you're a teenage girl. Oh, wait, something's wrong. Something must be wrong. When a teenage boy is acting up, when a teenage boy has anger that they can't understand, we don't always think, okay, we got to help them. We think that's a teenage boy, that he's just being a teenage boy. And I think that there may be more cases that aren't being addressed because I don't know if teenage boys feel like they can actually come forward and be believed.
Yeah.
So that's one theory there. But with the devil made me do it like case, outside looking in, because I've seen that rocking chair, and that rocking chair is, I don't love it. But I feel like I don't think that like some demon came over him and like made him do the act. I think that there could have been that isolation again, where it's like isolating you, making you feel kind of crazy. And then when the anger gets you, they kind of almost fuel it a little bit. I don't think a demon comes in your body and it's like, all right, this is my arms now. I think that they kind of feed what may have already been there, like that anger, that like, I think we've all been there where it's like, I could just, like, you know, but like when something's feeding you and like almost like hyping up that emotion and making you think it's okay to do that because it's so in your head, that's where it could have been, you know, more of a manipulation. But of course, I feel like there still kind of has to be like an underlying to that. Like almost like, I guess an example would be when somebody is intoxicated and they do something wild. There's usually still something there that like, it's like you kind of wanted to do that, but now that you have no boundaries, no filter there, you just do it. Yeah. So that's kind of my, I guess, view on that. That's my 2 cents.
I think, that's really interesting, Joy, because you know, again, it doesn't make sense to me that there's so much. Well, one thing I've said all the time, they've interviewed the top exorcist priest for the Vatican, and he has said 98% of the cases are just people with mental challenge.
Yeah.
But the 2% he can't explain, and he does not know why. Now, if you think, 2% ain't bad, John, but if you think about let's say you have 10 people in a room, 2 of those people are possessed by an actual entity of some kind, that's still not great. That should be 0, right? I mean, what do you think of that? Do you think there's some truth behind that?
I do, but it's interesting because I feel like, let's just say, I mean, like, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a demon. Would you want people to know that you're in there?
No.
I think that that's what's scary about them, is because until they truly have some crazy hold, like they don't want people to know that they're there. So if it's an angry spirit that's trying to scare somebody, then it's going to be like, I'm going to make them think that I'm a demon. I'm going to do all these crazy things that I think a demon would do. And that's where people think, oh my God, there must be a demon in me. Or, oh my God, there must be a demon in my house. If it's a true demon, I don't think you're going to know it's there until it's already made its way to what it's trying to do.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what's scary about those 2 people.
Yeah, right. Because again, it's not like the movies. The movies are done like Insidious. That's kind of a famous one. Obviously, The Exorcist, The Omen, and everything. All those famous, and there's a million others, right, about demons because they're easy to do. They're very scary. But if you think about it, like, why do demons always present themselves as like children, right? Like, you've heard stories of like someone interacting with what they feel is a young, like, you know, you're on a paranormal investigation. Oh, there's this cute little girl and she wants her mommy because, you know, she died in a flood or something. And then you slowly start to realize, wait a minute, why does this little girl seem not like a little girl? Like there's something strange about her. That to me is a demon, right? Don't you think demons want to kind of, that's why they have children that they start with, you know, from time to time, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really experienced a whole lot that like do try to be like kids because I honestly haven't experienced a whole lot. Like they are very rare. But the one that I did deal with, it was something a lot older. I talked a little bit about it in the video, but it's like so long to like even talk about. But it was that somebody who was living in my parents' house was wishing bad things and doing bad things. And with all that, she kind of brought in something that was happy to do those things that she was asking it to do. And it ended up, when I was just at my parents' house, it ended up following me home because I didn't know how to protect myself and everything as well at the time. I'm constantly learning how to like, it's like every time I overcome something, I'm like, I got this. Something else challenges. And it's like, no, you don't. So I'm constantly still learning and trying to do better. But this thing got in my head. This thing really isolated me. It was messing with my electronics. It was like doing, and not just like, oh, my TV's turning on and off. It was like doing really weird things that like, I feel like I can't even remember everything because I'm just trying so hard to forget.
Yeah, right.
But it really got in my head and made me feel alone. It made me feel crazy. And it wasn't until like a while when I started to get like almost like bad thoughts, bad feelings, that's when it appeared to me. Like it was actually right by where I am right now. And it was because it needed to do that icing on the cake. Like it already made me feel helpless. It already made me feel like I couldn't handle it. So that's when it finally kind of appeared to me because it wanted to scare me even more, and not in a way of like, oh, I'm scaring you, blah, blah, but like to make me feel like nobody could help me and to shut down. And luckily I wasn't able to invite my like mentor. I finally did, even though something kept making me feel like I couldn't. And again, it was that it didn't want to be gotten rid of. That's when she was like, well, I'm glad we caught it now because this would have been way worse.
Yeah.
It was still at those early phases, and it really does. It makes you feel like even the people around you can't trust them. Like it makes you feel like no one will believe you, and like it's like a super crazy thing because it sounds like almost like somebody who's very mentally ill, but like when it's you, you're like, I'm really confused. Like this isn't me. Like I don't understand what's happening. And so she taught me how to like bind it and get rid of it. So when I deal with darker spirits, I do use those methods. But again, I haven't really seen that many. That was kind of like my one big experience with it, besides like, helping with that other case.
Yeah, well, that's enough, in my opinion.
Fun. It gets so scary now.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Keep the nightmares. No, it's all good. That's what we want. People have nightmares and comment on us. But one of the things too is, I guess, Annabelle. Let's talk about that, right? Because that's been a big topic in the news where they took it on tour, and then this gentleman died, supposedly from the doll. I'm like, huh. I don't know what to make of that. What do you make of that? I mean, that powerful? That's pretty powerful. You know what I'm saying? That's some black magic crap going on. Like, what's going on?
I know. It really makes you wonder. So I really don't know. It's kind of interesting that you brought that up because recently I was possibly presented an opportunity to go to that Warren Occult Museum. I don't think I'm going to go because of what ensued. But when she was touring, some weird stuff kind of started happening because I was talking to my friends a lot about it. And it was interesting. There's even voice messages that I sent to my friends, like talking about kind of weird dreams I was having and talking about her. Because I send voice messages a lot, we actually caught like the sound of a little girl in these voice messages. And it was like sent in my car where I'm alone. Like there's nobody with me. There should not be other voices, and we're there. And we were starting to get other voices. And after I was kind of like invited on this thing recently, I kind of was thinking about it. I was like, oh, that'd be kind of wild. Maybe I'll just go. And I started having some very vivid nightmares. And maybe it was just like, my spirit guides being like, maybe we can scare her out of it because I don't think that she should be dealing with it. But I had some pretty like vivid, scary nightmares. And when I was talking to my friend that I sent voice messages to, he kept hearing like a little girl giggle. And he didn't know what was going on. He kept going, are your kids back there? And I was like, no. And he's like, I just heard like someone giggle. And I was like, there's nobody with me. And it was during that same car ride that I heard a hiss, like an audible hiss behind my ear, that I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm like, I'm not even going to think about that anymore. So I don't know if that was her, but if it was her, that's pretty scary.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so interesting to me. I totally admit I've had people on the show who have showed me their curse dolls and everything. And I'm like, get that away from me. That's freaky. Yeah, you know what I mean? But how is that possible? Again, I don't know how if something that dark could inhabit that and make it so powerful. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to make out of it, right? Because there's so many dolls, there's so many other things out there. Why did it choose that object, right? I don't know.
I feel like it kind of comes back to that little girl thing that we were talking about, the younger teenagers. Like, what was the environment around that doll? What was happening to that little girl that owned that doll? You really don't know. What did that doll see? What did that doll experience? And what negative, like, things could have, like, imprinted on that? If, like, a little girl is, like, not having a really hard time at home and that doll is seeing everything. That can attract spirits. That can like attract, especially if she's hanging on to that little doll. You never know what it's been through. And on top of that, it's like, let's say something more negative, like with all the negative things, gets attracted. Like negative attracts more negative. And the more negativity, the bigger the pool, the bigger the negative things that are coming in. And you never know what's going to attach to that and start to feed off that negativity. And the biggest fear, especially with like Annabelle's huge, right? Like most people, if you bring up Annabelle, especially in this community, they know who she is.
Correct.
Think about a worldwide thing of fear of people who haven't even seen her in person feeding that thing.
Ooh.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I can only imagine what it could do just because of years and years and years of this fear building up and movies and more people being scared of something that they haven't even seen.
Yeah. It's what, I don't know if you've ever heard of this. I brought it up before. It's called a topa. And it's something that you collectively, kind of like a mind hive. So the biggest one is Slender Man. So Slender Man is totally fake, no, it's a joke, However, a girl, this happened in Wisconsin, of course, almost murdered another young girl because she believed in it, which I highly recommend. There's a Slender Man documentary out there. I highly recommend if you're a parent to watch it, because the parents in there, I felt so sorry for them because they were watching their daughter. They found the notebooks of the daughter drawing Slender Man and praising the man, and they're like, she's just a young girl, and we've all been there, right? As a parent, you're like, they draw something weird, and you're like, honey, what is that? And they're like, oh, it's my monster. And you're like, okay, honey, you know what I mean? You don't like really act on it. And the problem was they didn't act on it, and it became worse and worse and worse. And this young girl, luckily everything kind of worked out. The young girl, she's a young woman now. She's fine. She's forgiven everyone. She's a nurse. She's like, I just want to move on. I don't want to talk about it anymore. The girl had mental issues, and I'm past it. And I love that because, this was something that just, but the thing was, everyone started to feed it and feed it and feed it. And it became this almost real thing. They made movies of it. They made video games of it. They made comics of it, books of it. They made, podcasts of it. And it just, and that's crazy to me that we can do that. And it's the same thing with Annabelle. We just keep feeding the fear and the negative energy into it. That's powerful stuff. That is very
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever talked about or heard about. This is newer to me. Since the whole TikTok thing, people have brought up things that I never even thought about. But like an egregore, I guess it's kind of that. It's like a spirit that is more of like a projection of the things that people have put onto it. So it's like, let's say all of a sudden I start a story about my shower being haunted. And I just keep telling, like, let's say I'm just making up stories just to start that fear.
Sure.
Then all of a sudden people be like, maybe somebody comes over drunk and they're like, I thought I saw something by the reflection. But, we start to get more fear. More people are starting to say that they saw something in my shower. More things, like it's starting to build up something. And energy can like feed that. Like there's nothing there, but now we're creating something there. And that's what an egregore is it's like a spirit that wasn't there originally. That's like not really a human spirit. I mean, it could have been a human spirit kind of attracted to everything, and then we just feed that. But it's like something that wasn't there that our fear and our feelings and our thoughts have brought into existence. And that's pretty wild. Like with the Slender Man thing, like that's pretty scary.
Right. That's absolutely terrifying that we have the power to do that as a collective society. And that reminds me, I'm just curious you've heard of the Hat Man, where people have seen this, tall, slender figure with a hat, very dark, and it just it doesn't do anything to anybody, similar to, what you had when you were younger. But again, that is strange, right? Why is it a man? Why is it wearing a hat? Some people have seen it with holding a dead rabbit. Some people have seen it holding like a knife or something, but it's never attacked anybody that I know of. And so again, why? I know it usually involves some type of drug use, but not all the time. Some people have said, they have seen this by just it's in front of them, and they don't know why, right?
And I feel like that for me kind of comes down to there's a lot of male spirits with hats on. That was a big fashion thing, especially back in the day. That I wonder if like people just like with me, if I didn't know who that was, maybe now I would be like, I experienced the Hat Man because I saw somebody in a hat. And I feel like maybe it could just be a spirit that's just doing that, and we just associate it. Like, oh, he's wearing a hat. It must be the Hat Man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or
Yeah.
even like the spirits that, like, if you're doing, it's like, let's say I'm a teenage girl and I'm like, I can look up all these creepy stories about the Hat Man. And then like a spirit kind of realizes that that's in your mind. They're going to start to try to morph that to be something that it looks like the Hat Man, so that you're scared to think it's the Hat Man. Just so it can kind of feed off of that fear too. It's kind of interesting in that. I don't think it's like one spirit doing it. I think it's like kind of like, it's a story that's kind of become better.
Yeah. And it's just come more and more. Again, we're just feeding into it. So as we wrap up here, this has been awesome. I could talk to you forever, Joy.
You ever want to do another one? I got you.
I definitely want to do another one because we didn't get to our topic because I've just been so fascinated by everything and the nightmares, by the way. You owe me another episode just for the nightmares. But anyway, as we wrap up here, people who want to reach out to you and everything, how do they go about it, and what should they expect? Because I don't want people reaching out to you when this episode comes out and you're like, no, I don't do that. Kind of.
No. Yeah, so I have a TikTok, an Instagram, and a YouTube. It's all under the Joy Frequency. Also, if you type in zIggaty, zIggaty, it's something I made when I was 11. Don't ask, but nobody else uses it, so I always use it with my stuff. You can find me. I would say if you want a reading, I would just reach out through Instagram. I usually send them through Instagram DMs. And I usually do voice messages because I have kids and I found it's just so hard to try to schedule something. So I do voice messages and images. You can send me info beforehand, like questions you want me to ask. If spirits come through, spirits come through. I just tell you, if you're open to messages, I tell you whatever messages are meant to be told. And it's all about your greatest good. I'm not going to keep lingering and all that, but it's all about your greatest good. And so I can, address anything that you want, or go in blind and just see whatever you were meant to see and meant to hear. So that's kind of how my readings go. And then also, if you're in Arizona, I teach tarot card reading classes once a month.
Cool.
So kind of fun at a haunted museum in Mesa. So it's kind of fun. So check that out.
Sweet. Awesome. If I'm ever in your neighborhood, I'm going to reach out to you and you have to teach me that, because I love to learn that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you one other thing. We didn't get to your tattoos, but I'm curious. Some people have tattoos because what? I'm sorry?
You want to hear? I have a...
Yeah. But is there one that means other than maybe your kids or loved ones or whatever? Is there one tattoo that means the most to you? And is it okay you show that? Hopefully it's in an area you can show.
Yes. Meaning the most to me, I would say I probably have two. Most of mine are nerdy. I have like Lord of the Rings. I have dinosaurs. I got Harry Potter. I have Legend of Zelda. Most of them are nerdy. But actually, the ones I get asked about the most are my two crosses right here. So I have a silver and a gold chain. That's actually from my mom and I. We went to New Orleans for my 21st birthday, and we got matching crosses because we both experienced stuff. So we got matching crosses. We dipped them in the holy water at the cathedral. Hers was silver, mine was gold. So for my 30th birthday, I went and I got these tattooed because she's no longer with us. So that's probably one of my most meaningful ones, especially because it like wraps around my mom and like us going through this crazy like paranormal journey together. And then also I'm just gonna stand up. It's just on my leg, but I'm wearing shorts. I have up here, it's from Brave. It's also for my mom. So it's Merida and her mom is a bear, and then the will-o'-the-wisp kind of around my knee. So those are probably like my two most meaningful.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Unfortunately, I don't have any tattoos, but the tattoos that I always wanted, it was a big red dragon on my back. It was too expensive at that time. It was like, this is
a dragon on my back.
Yeah. Oh, of course you do.
But you can kind of see it. I have a whole...
See? You see, Joy? We're on the frequency together. Yes. That's awesome. We were meant for it. But anyway, that's the only one other thing. So one last question before we wrap up. What is on your bucket list? You can go anywhere in the world. Let's say I win the lottery tomorrow and I say, Joy, here's whatever you need. I'll get you a private jet. You can go anywhere you want, and accommodations. Bring your family, bring everybody. Go do what you want to do. Where is Joy going?
Does it have to be paranormal, or can it be anything?
Let's stay in the paranormal thing. Because if you say like I'm going to a beach, I'm gonna be like lame.
My dream is not paranormal. It's like I just want to go to every Disney park. So I was like, oh, with the kids, when you said family.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like I would really love to go to England and just everything there. Honestly, the things there are so old. I would just love to experience, like, I would love to walk through a castle and like see what I see. I would love to go to like the Tower of London and like just walking through the streets and seeing these old buildings that have had so many stories to them that there are still spirits there. Like I'm sure that place is haunted to all heck. So I would love to go to England. When my mom went a really long time ago, she said even just driving by the cemetery, she saw like guards, like ghosts of guards and like crazy things there. And that's where I want to go to experience something really cool. That's my answer.
I love that answer. That is one of the places I like to go to. But I always tell this, I've said it a million times. Dracula's castle. Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's actually my next tattoo. It's going to be Dracula's castle on the back of my leg.
Oh, look at us. Look at us.
Look at us go.
Look at us go. Look out, people. But yeah, I mean, I've had people from the UK on the show and stuff. And what's really funny is they always say, yeah, my pub is haunted. Like, like the restaurant down the street, my apartment, it's like literally, they're like, if your pub isn't haunted, it's like, don't go to it. Like, why am I even going to this? Because they've had there's crazy things. Like, somebody was telling me just really quickly, somebody's telling me like, oh, they used to hang people in this pub. They used to do trials in this pub. They used to use a brothel. This was, they murdered young women in this pub. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, it's from the 1600s. And I'm like, get out. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like,
everywhere has spirits, but it's like the spirits that have been there for a long time. You know what? Those are the ones that are showing up to everybody. Like they have the energy now to do it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And they just they say you go in there and you like talking to the bartender and they're like, yeah, when I was closing up, the stupid mugs were moving, and then my stereo went. And they just like talk nonchalant, Yeah, then in the basement, I saw this beheaded man walk towards me. Okay, whatever. I'm like, what? It's just crazy, and they're just like, yeah, I saw it, whatever. And I'm just like, that's nuts. I mean, whatever. But this has been one of my best shows. This has been amazing. I got to have you back on. I didn't get to the topic, and even though I'm going to get more nightmares.
I need to know this topic now. Like, we got to do it again so I can find out this topic.
Well, so all right. I'll tell you the topic so we can do it again. So don't take this the wrong way, okay? When I saw you, I thought you looked like Vampirus. Like you're a vampire. You had that vampire feel to me. And I'm going, that's perfect. I'll do something on vampires. Because I've never done anything on vampires. Beautiful long hair, beautiful, you have the features of you've seen Vampirus and stuff like, she has crazy dresses and all that stuff. I'm like, that's perfect. I bet she's gone like that in freaking Halloween. It's perfect. So we'll have to come back and do that.
Yes, I went to a vampire ball last year, so I'll have to tell you guys all about it.
Yeah, See, there we go. So I'm going to definitely have Joy back on because I think once you see this, you're going to be like, oh my God, bring her back. She's awesome. And yes, absolutely. Yeah. And please go to all the links will be when this episode goes. Please give Joy some love. When you do reach out to her, just kind of follow her rules. She's got hey, she's a mom. She's got kids. Give her a break. She'll get to you. She's willing to help. She's willing to do that. And watch the episode, which I will watch this weekend of Ghost Adventures and see what's going on. And then tonight I don't have any sage in the house. Could I use something else to cleanse myself?
You can use sauna. You just put yourself in that bubble and just set your intentions. You'll be just fine. Put yourself in the bubble.
I got it.
Yep.
So thank you so much. This was awesome. Like I said, I can't say enough. And hey, I'm gonna put the gauntlet out for my next guest. If you could beat that Ghost Adventure story, we're gonna have I don't know, some type of contest.
Oh my God.
I'm going to definitely feature that because that's awesome.
And you better let me know what you think of the episode. And just know when
I
I'm
will.
first getting interviewed and he walks in, he slapped the door and scared the heck out of me. I wasn't just jumpy, he scared me and left it in and slow-moed it. So just know I'm not always that jumpy.
All right. Yeah, she's not that jumpy, folks.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Joy. And we are officially spooky friends now. So, we will obviously, like I said, have you back on. But everyone, please, like I said, give Joy some love and stay spooky.
Ooh.